Hey everybody, welcome to episode 12 of the Corman Fantasy Cast. This week, our guest host is coming in remotely. It's a big surprise. Let's check it out.
What?
Welcome to the show.
Hey! Why didn't you tell me when I was coming in?
Thought we agreed. 7 o'clock.
Right. I just thought a little warning. I was doing something very kind of personal there. Got this one really long nose hair. I just couldn't get. I was just trying to use the...
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
Okay.
we're ready for you. If you want to take us away.
Listen, here we are in virgin territory here, simulcasting via Skype, episode 12 of the Corman Fantasy Cast. Welcome. Do not tell my wife I was using her eyebrow tweezers to pluck nose hairs. That's a secret. We are so excited to be trying out this new technology called Skype. Apparently invented by a Norwegian man very recently. It's a new technology that we're trying. This was such an eventful week here in the Corman Fantasy Football League. We had people drop out of contention off the bubble. We had people solidify their spots in the playoffs. Still lots of jockeying for position. Literally only one game separating the first seed from the sixth seed. Lots of tie-breaking criteria. Confusing to a simple-minded man like myself. Commissioner, please explain to us simple-minded folk how this works.
Okay, so the tie-breaking criteria is for division leaders is different than it is for wildcard teams. So if there's a tie-break situation for division leader, it goes to the team with the better division record. All the other wildcard teams, the only criteria that matters is points for. So that's why you see right now some funky standings going on. It's just because of the division. And I know a lot of you are going to have something to say about it, but guess what? It's Yahoo Standard. I have no control over it whatsoever. So let's, Kevin, I'm happy to have you here. And we're going to jump right into our game capsules.
Week 11. Here we go. All right, let's start off because on my phone, I'm always at the top. And my game was a pretty impactful one overall. So if you don't mind, I'd like to start there.
Go for it.
All right, well, listen. It was do or die for me. I was just barely on the cusp of being on the bubble. I was hanging by a thread, and my 3-game winning streak came to an end. Look, going into Sunday night's game, I had a realistic shot of winning this. I had Jamison Crowder. My opponent, Adrian Peterson, had Pierre Garçon. Crowder did his part, got me 16.2 points. Unfortunately, Pierre Garçon had the game of his life, maybe, definitely the game of his season, with 17.6 points, and that pretty much put me out of it. I've pretty much made my peace with the fact that my fantasy season is over. Adrian Peterson, well done. You're putting together a great season. Now sitting on an 8-3 record, which is tied for best in the Corman. So good for you, and goodbye to Knuckles for this season.
All right, the next matchup we should talk about then is probably mine. Dolomite Pimp Squad versus Old Dirty BJ. This is the second time I've beaten CJ this year. It was a real shit show, though.
It was. I mean, 74 points for you, 63 for CJ. That's kind of an ugly win, but you never have to apologize for getting a W, especially when you need it coming down the stretch.
Yeah, it was a huge win for me. I was actually, believe it or not, losing going into Monday night. I only had about 50 points. And my team came through. They did what they had to do. And CJ, it's another loss for you.
Yeah, CJ, look, it's not easy, to continue setting your lineup. Boomer, Wayne, CJ, myself, those of us who are out of it, I encourage us all to just stay the course. Because, look, in the end, we have the anti-playoffs that take place once the real playoffs are going down. And we do have an opportunity to play spoiler down the stretch. We can impact this league even though we're out of the playoffs. So, let's keep the integrity going. Boomer, way to set your lineup last week. We'll get to him a little bit later, too. Moving on, let's go to I Suck versus Teabaggers. A really, really marquee matchup. two teams that were vying for the top spot in their division, and a brother versus brother match. I suck. Chris ends up pulling it out, and really, really tough times for Mike.
Yeah, how many in a row is that for him? I think four?
That's three in a row. Now, that's three losses in a row.
Okay, three. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Three.
three losses in a row. But I mean, when you think about where he stood 3 weeks ago, having a one-loss record, and now dropping four and coming back to the rest of the pack,
Yeah,
you know,
and he has
really,
four. He has all four of his losses are division losses, so that's going to affect him winning that division.
right, and that's a huge factor. When you explained it to me and to some of the other people how important your division record is. Mike, even though he's had one of the best overall seasons this year, when you talk about your in division record, I mean that really really hurts him at this point.
All right, so the next matchup we should get to is Beers versus High on AJ's Green, who just changed his name, I believe, today to Hung by AJ's Hamstring. That's because AJ Green is done for the season, folks, and so is Bailey.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's still on the bubble. I mean, but it's going to take a miracle. He needed a big performance this week and really fell flat, only getting up to 53 and a half points. I mean, you couldn't ask for an injury like that at a worse time. And it's a shame because he's the second highest scoring team in the Corman. But we've said it time and time again. It's not how good you play; it's who you play and how they do against you in that given week.
Indeed.
In terms of Beers, Beers is kind of solidifying himself right now. He's really, barring some kind of epic collapse, he has a really, really good shot of making the playoffs, unless Bombo or even Bobby can kind of make a push down the stretch.
Dak Attack versus Saved by Lev Bell was our rivalry game of the week, and Dak Attack walked away with the victory, 119 to 81.
Yeah, I mean De Silva. Look, he has been probably the most consistent team in the Corman so far this year. He's got an 8-3 record, no pronounced losing streaks, just really consistently, just racking up those wins. And right now, if the playoffs were to start today, he'd go in as the number one overall seed. He's really put together an impressive regular season.
Wheeling and dealing his way. I wish I had the team he drafted in front of me to see the team he drafted to the team he has now.
Oh, it is so drastically different. I mean, you look at his receivers. Des Bryant originally wasn't on his team. Lamar Miller originally not on his team. Gets a great performance out of Starks. He's really kind of patched together a very, very impressive team. And we joke around about Riverboat Jack and how he's always kind of wheeling and dealing. But look, it's a high risk, high reward proposition. And De Silva, you say whatever you want about him, he's never been afraid to roll the dice. And this season, more often than not, it's really come up in favor of him. So good for him. He is all but guaranteed a playoff spot at this point. I mean, he's going to go in probably as a top 3 seed. Good for him. And for Joe, I mean, just like with Bailey, this was the worst time for him to lose. He really needed to win this week just to kind of stay viable and to keep his hopes alive.
Yeah. Joe's done.
Yeah.
He drafted DeAndre Hopkins with his first pick. That was his mistake. And he was so excited after the draft, too. Joe, you were so excited.
He really was. Absolutely. Bombo got himself a much-needed win. Scored 110 points. Kirk Cousins had a huge game for him. And Kelly. Look, I drafted Kelly. I remember Kelly was the second to last pick of mine in the draft, and I gave up on him after the first few weeks. And who knew that at this point in the season, that's when he was going to step up and give Bombo credit. He picked him up, and I'm not sure exactly when he picked him up. I'm not sure if he's been sitting on him or if he just picked him up recently. But he had the wherewithal, and Kelly got him 31.7 points. Undisputedly one of the best running back performances in a single game this season. Ridiculous.
Yeah,
game
yeah.
by R. Kelly.
Hashtag Kickers Lives Matter versus B for Boomer. B for Boomer pounced him. Bounced him?
Pounced and bounced.
Both work? All right.
Both work.
He bounced him.
Look, the second half of horror is real. It is happening for Bobby. I think even he would acknowledge it, that the second half of this season has just been a nightmare for him. And once again, we had a lot of people. I mean, this is what we talk about when we talk about separating the contenders from the pretenders, is these teams might not be mathematically eliminated, Joe and Bailey and Bobby, but, you know, when you need that win and you drop 50 points, I mean, that's the kind of performance that really just kind of demoralizes you and kills any kind of hope that you have coming down the stretch. I mean, he really needs a miracle at this point. He's 2 games out with 2 games remaining. So I just don't see a way that Bobby gets in. Looks like Mike is going to get out of washing Bobby's van. My Corman call-out of the week is a Corman call-out of all Dallas fans in the Corman League, okay? I already took my shot at the Giants fans. It's only fair if I take my shot at the Dallas fans as well. So at, what time was it? It was at about 1:15 in the morning last night. Bobby put something up on the message board, a quote from Merrill Hodge, of all people, giving his hot take. Quote, in all my years, over 30 years of playing in and studying this league, I have never seen a young quarterback come in and play the way Dak Prescott is playing. I've never seen it. This is one of the most amazing stories I have ever seen. Yeah. Okay. All right. So first off, I want to say that I really, really respect what Dak Prescott and what the Dallas Cowboys and Ezekiel Elliott are doing. But my response this morning, I want to share it with anyone who might not have seen it. Maybe they got up a little too late and it got buried on the feed. But I'm just going to go ahead and read it because for 6 a.m., not even really having my coffee in me yet, I feel like it was an impulsive response, but I read it over, and I'm really proud of the response. So here's my Corman call out to all of you Dallas fans. Here we go. So to that Merrill Hodge hot take, I said, and I quote on the message board, also, no rookie QB has ever come in and played behind the undisputed best O-line in football. Dak is very, very impressive. I'm just saying. Cam threw for 4,000 yards his rookie year and is basically a 500 quarterback. RG3 threw 20 TDs and 5 INTs in his rookie year and then basically disappeared. I think Dak is better than both of those two, but leave it to Cowboys fans to have one great year after 20 years of mediocrity and crown their guy the GOAT after 10 games. So silly. Dak is amazing, by the way, but the NFL has a way of cutting short potential greatness. Just sit back and enjoy the ride. Cowboys fans don't always have to act exactly like everybody thinks they will. I guess it's like they say, stereotypes are funny because they are mostly true. To which CJ responded, and then Bombo responded,
Mike, drop.
Now look, I'm sure that's going to get me a punishing Bobby's World possibly next week. I know that Bobby has a lot of footage of me on this fantasy cast to work with, and I'm sure he's going to have a lot of fun with it. I am an easy target when it comes to making fun of. I have a big nose, and I stutter, and I laugh like an idiot sometimes. So Bobby, have at it, but I just got to tell you, Cowboys fans, you've been called out.
Oh, snap.
And now it's time for the segment you've all been waiting for. This week's Good Gif of the Week. It has been a very, very eventful week on the message board. Lots of good gifs. Tensions are high. Emotions are flaring. Our first nominee, Retro Thumbs Up by I Suck.
And our second nominee for Good Gif of the Week is Puny God by Old Dirty BJ.
final nominee. Picture this face dripping with wet stool by the Teabaggers. And the winner is picture this face dripping with wet stool by the Teabaggers. Look, I know that this is not a good gif per se, but really we could not resist this once Mike gave us this funny story, a short story. He put on the message board along with this picture. Fact. You guys know when Chris was a small boy, he fell headfirst into a ditch that mountain people used to dump their shit buckets into. Picture this face dripping with wet stool. I mean, that is just too funny. Come on.
Congratulations, Mike.
Congratulations to the Teabaggers on winning this week's Good GIF of the Week. You thought outside the box, and we're going to reward you for it. We are landing this Cessna. We got a lot of turbulence, but we're bringing this thing into landing. We're bringing it to a close with our playoff preview, as well as our preview of next week's games, coming down to the nitty-gritty with 2 weeks to go in the regular season. So if you look at the playoff bracket as it stands right now, you have Dak Attack with an 8-3 record on tiebreaker criteria as the number 1 seed. Let me just mention that the Heroes division has the 2 best records in the Corman as of right now. The top 2 spots with 8-3 records, that's Dak Attack and Adrian Peterson. And of course, Dak Attack with the tiebreaker sitting in the number 1 spot. So I Suck sits right in the number 2 spot right now. He's got a 7-4 record, and I want to talk a little bit about this because he's really sitting in a very precarious spot right now. So what's interesting about I Suck, Chris's team, is that as it stands right now, of all the teams in contention right now, including the teams on the bubble, he has the lowest point total at 925 points. There is no way that he is going to catch the other teams that are in the playoffs right now in terms of total points for. So if he's going to get that first round bye, he has to stay in the lead in his division. Otherwise, he's most likely going to drop down to the 5th or 6th seed. Not a place you want to be.
Well, good news for him. He plays Mohawk Maniacs next week. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean that's good. And aside from that, after Mohawk Maniacs, he's got a tough match against Bombo, who's fighting for his playoff life right now. So Chris really needs these 2 wins at the end if he's going to solidify himself in that division. So Adrian Peterson sits right now in the 3rd spot, but really has the ability with a strong finish to overtake Dak Attack for that top spot. Peterson, as it stands right now, goes against Bombo and then against AJ's Green, or now currently AJ's Hamstring, who's really down and out right now. So if he can get past Bombo this week, I like him to finish out strong, possibly get into a 10-3 mark. Whereas Dak Attack, he's got me this week, and he's got Boomer next week. So, either guy could finish out really strong, but Adrian Peterson in the 3 spot right now really has the ability to climb if he finishes strong. Sitting in the 4 spot, we have the Teabaggers at 7-4. We talked about this earlier. Mike really had it made in the shade. He was really cruising along, and now all of a sudden a 3-game losing streak has him really, a first-round bye is going to be really hard to come by at this point. He's really got to finish strong. Otherwise, look, there's a chance at this point that he could not make the playoffs. Chances are he is going to, but really, 3 weeks ago, he saw himself going in as the number 1 overall seed, or at least getting a first-round bye.
He was clearly the most dominant team in the league for a few, maybe 3 or 4 weeks.
Well, since that trade, especially that he made to get David Johnson, he had really been racking up the wins, and now on a 3-game losing streak, by no fault of David Johnson, but now on a 3-game losing streak, is really kind of needing to kind of turn things around. In the 5th spot, we got you, Dolomite. It's been an up and down season for you, but you've righted the ship now with 2 straight wins. and looks like at this point you're going to hold on for a playoff spot.
I am in control of my own destiny. I have teabaggers next week and then beers the following week. A guy right ahead of me and a guy right behind me.
Right, and
we're all 7-4.
Right, and you know what? It's two tough games, but I would argue that that's exactly where you want to be, because if you're going to climb in those standings, you have the ability to really control your own destiny and kind of bully your way up the seeding chart right there. And then finally, Beers sitting in the sixth spot. Look, Beers has been that sneaky good team, just kind of quietly putting himself in a position. We haven't really talked about him throughout this season, and yet here he is, just kind of there in the sixth spot right now, but really in a good position. Like I said, all the teams that are there right now are sitting on 2-game leads with 2 weeks to go. So barring some kind of a collapse, a lot of these teams, if they go 1-1, they're going to be good to go going into the playoffs. So, we have a good idea of who our playoff teams are going to be. I don't want to completely discount. The one guy you got to really look out for is Bombo Berry. He also, playing some teams that are in front of him, has his fate in his hands as well. He goes against Peterson this week and then goes against I Suck to close out. So keep your eye on Bombo Berry. A strong finish last year.
He's got a tough road ahead of him.
He does. But just like you, I would argue that when you're sitting in that spot, you would want to be able to go against teams that you have the ability to knock down a little bit.
He's definitely in control of his destiny as well.
Right. When you look at it, ironically, you're probably better off facing 2 current playoff teams than 2 teams that are at the bottom of the standings, just for that reason, that you control your own destiny. So Bombo Berry, the one team sitting on the bubble right now that I think really has a shot of making it in, hung on AJ's hamstring and hashtag Kickers Lives Matter. It's going to take a miracle at this point. I really don't see them making it, but we have them on the bubble.
Let me ask you this. Of those 2 teams, who do you think is more likely to make it into the playoffs?
Oh, well, I think you got to go. I think you got to go Kickers Lives Matter, just for the simple point that AJ's hamstring just lost his number 1 receiver, a guy that he was really relying heavily on. Kickers Lives Matter is on a terrible losing streak, but he's got AJ's Green, who's down next week, and then he's got Knuckles, the following week. And look, I'd be the first to admit my team has not been very strong overall this season. So after those 2 teams, I'd give the edge to hashtag Kickers Lives Matter.
I think I'd go hung by AJ's hamstring. Only the main reason is because of how many points he has for. So if those 2 guys were to finish with the same record of someone ahead of them, hung by AJ's hamstring has more than 100 points over Saved by Love Bell.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's going to be a really, really exciting race to the finish line here in the regular season. And, as competitive as this year has been, the teams at the top have all been close. I'm really, really excited to see how the playoffs shake out this year. Watching it from the sidelines is disappointing, but it also gives me an opportunity to kind of watch it without selfishly thinking about myself. So I'm excited about it. Now that all is said and done and I'm out of it, I'm really excited about how this season is going to finish. And I really look forward to bringing all the commentary and all the analysis and breaking things down here on the Fantasy Cast. Really want to thank you guys on this week leading into Thanksgiving. Really want to thank you guys for all the support. Brian and I kind of decided to do this on a wing and a prayer, not knowing exactly how you guys were going to respond to it. I think that this Fantasy Cast has really boosted the profile of our league.
Oh, it's huge.
In terms of how our owners view it and in terms of how our owners now interact with it. I really couldn't be happier with the way it's turned out and the way that other owners have stepped up and hosted and added segments. It's been a really, really positive experience for myself.
Yeah, keep all that good stuff coming. We'll get it on the show.
Listen, keep the message board going. Now's no time to shy away from it. We were blowing up the message board today on Tuesday as we're filming this earlier today. The message board was blowing up, and I was really getting a kick out of it at work. really getting me through the dog days as you know, we're going in November. But that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for this league. I'm thankful for this fantasy cast, and I'm thankful for you, brother.
And I'm thankful for you, and I'm thankful for everyone in the entire world because I love everybody.
Wow, that is good. And I am also thankful for Tom's bowl of fruit.
All right,
Yep.
well, that concludes episode 12 of the Corman Fantasy Cast. Thank you for joining us.
Until next time, Ave Atque Vale.
Yes.
Oh, we are. Don't use any of that stuff. Knowing you, you're gonna use it.